Welcome back to Trauma House. Today we'll be discussing more about church trauma. Thank you so much for your love and support. We were so blessed when some of you had individually reached out to us in our channel talking about how you can relate to church trauma. We are with you, like you're not alone, and that just reminded me of like what this was all for, just to kind of discuss our own experiences. And we're talking about our own experiences and just letting you know that like you're also not alone. And I'm sorry if you can relate to what we have discussed and will be discussing. So just another reminder to take care of yourself. It was so much that we did not get to discuss in our last church trauma episode. And so I want to open up the floor for whatever you want to say or anything you want to discuss and process together. So this is a safe space for us.
Yes. Hi and welcome back. We're so excited that you decided to join us again. I know that when we first started talking about this topic, we didn't know where to go, how things
and we still don't really. Whatever.
But we got so many messages specifically on our video about church trauma, and a lot of the responses were very similar to ours, like, oh, I didn't know other people felt this way, thank you for talking about this, I stopped going because of XYZ. And that reminded me of what we were talking about, how like we didn't know other people felt this way, we didn't know if other people talked about this, but we were going to. So with
That's
that
what
being
this is
said,
for.
This is all for community. I think what you and I really wanted was to show other people that what we go through, it's not an isolated thing. A lot of us share similarities in these issues. But what did you think about it? Have you had more time to think about it?
Oh, yes, I did. I feel like we only scratched the surface, especially in discussing how the church was really nitpicky about the outer appearance, like a lot about the physical. And, thinking about it, I actually got really upset just remembering like what we had experienced, specifically like what I had experienced, and it was honestly very annoying. And I don't want to sound negative here, but it makes me angry, and I think that that's okay to be like, wow, that wasn't okay. I feel like what we experienced, especially with the whole modesty thing, like there were times when people would like message me saying that what I was wearing was provocative, and that was really upsetting to me because it puts the blame on me. It's not my fault that these men are struggling with lust, and I understand that I could cover up more, but I just feel like that's very blameful and not productive. So that upset me. Just like being like modest on the outside, that's all it seemed like they cared about, instead of like the posture, the heart posture. I feel like that matters most. But like even like things like, oh, you can't wear lace because that looks like lingerie and that's gonna remind men of lingerie, so don't wear that. So I remember like being a little teenager thinking, oh, I have to throw away all my lace, like my clothing with lace, because I would have shirts and they would have like lace on the side.
It'll be like a trim of lace, and it was like condemned. There was like a hypercritical view of certain things when it came to girls. When it came to girls, specifically girls, and we have to be honest about that, because I don't think any of our brothers, we have 6 brothers, none of them have ever been confronted by a woman like, oh, your muscle shirt is too tight. That would have never happened. These things gave people the audacity to come at young women, young girls, like they were holier than thou. And that's a problem, because there's a lack of accountability in the church, specifically when it comes to men and boys. But when it came to girls, it gave people the audacity to feel like they could speak on certain things. It's very inappropriate.
I feel like they cared way too much about how you looked, that made me feel so like self-conscious.
Yes.
Like no matter how much I tried to be modest, it was still not good enough, and that made me upset. Like I remember wearing a midi dress one time, and the cut was like all the way up here, so no cleavage, nothing was showing. I remember it was like this, the sleeve was like pretty long, and one of my friends who I thought was a friend to me at the time, she was like, oh, you're wearing that, like that's so immodest. And I remember feeling so disheartened and disappointed, because I actually tried to be modest. I went to church proud, like thinking like, this is so modest, like I'm good to go, and then to still be called out even when I'm trying, like
It makes me so sad. I'm sorry you went through that, Boo, because I remember like your 8th grade graduation. You wore like this beautiful blue dress, and then you wore white tights under it. And I remember thinking, it's the summertime. It's hot. I remember even asking you, why are you wearing that?
Yeah. I felt so self-conscious all the time. Like, nothing was good enough. I remember I even wore a white...
you did! Like a cardigan or something.
over it. Because it was just like everything I wore, like someone at church always has something to say. So then I brought that with me to school and everything. And now, like, as an adult, I'm just like, what the hell was that? Like, we should not have had to go through that.
While you're talking, I realized that we over-explain ourselves.
Yes, and we should not have to.
Yeah, like how you're like, I wore a meaty dress, and I wore tights, and I wore this. And when I was talking about it, I was like, I could have been wearing a coat, I could have been covered up, and I find us over-explaining ourselves that like, but we weren't that bad, we weren't bad, and that's the problem is we weren't. But growing up, people made it seem like we were so bad, to the point where it made us like insecure of how we looked. I mean, I know you addressed that a little bit, like, to the point where I didn't want anybody looking at me because I didn't want to be sinful in their eyes, even if I tried.
Yeah.
So with that being said, can we talk about what the things that people in the church have accused you of doing certain things?
Like what? Oh, for attention?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just no matter what you do, even if you're just having fun, people will always have something to say. That's
can't
why
do anything right.
I tell people, just be you, because whether you're you or not, like, people are going to talk, so you may as well liberate yourself in just being safe in your body and doing what you want. So I had an ex, and we were on and off, and during the time we were off, when we were talking again, he told me that during the time that we were off, there was another guy leader in the church who had reached out to him and was like, hey, did you see like Soul's TikTok videos that she's sharing? She like is so thirsty for attention. And I was like, why would anyone feel or have the audacity to talk about me to anybody else? Like, come say it to my face. And his family talk shit about me all the time, but whatever. And then for him to like approach my ex and say that shit as a way to like connect, I thought that was so disrespectful and so unloving, so unkind. Like, how dare you? And I wouldn't be surprised if he's watching this video right now, because I know you guys like to lurk and like to talk shit about us.
Hi, Billiam. I'm sure you're watching. Welcome.
Yeah.
I think it's very sad the gossiping that is constantly happening.
It is. Like, what do you get out of it?
I mean, like we were just talking about that physical sin. I'm sorry that what I'm wearing is making you lustful. There's no accountability, there's no responsibility on the person. It's always being pushed on somebody else. And I feel like when people are gossiping, it's the same thing. It's just a projection of their character and of their heart, but they're not going to say that. So they talk about somebody else, because what are they really talking about? It doesn't have anything to do with them.
For me, like, church trauma is so bad, it affects me physically. Like, literally, when I think of it, like there's something in my body that, like, shakes. That's the first time I ever recognized that in me. And I remember the first time that ever happened to me was when I remember I was in my dorm room. I was a freshman in college, and I had found out that there were people talking about me and what I was wearing. I don't know why. I didn't even really go to church anymore. I stopped going in high school because I felt like going to church was worse than what I experienced in high school. I actually had a better high school experience than going to church. That's why I stopped going. But anyways, when I was in college, I had confronted this girl who I heard was talking shit about me and what I was wearing. And it made me so mad, because I'm just like, come on, like, you... Especially from a woman, like, I expect more from you. Like, you should, if anything, you should understand, growing up in the same church, that, like, they're so nitpicky about us. So why would you also continue to talk about me to people from other churches?
It's not edifying. It's not building a relationship.
I remember there was a video she posted on Instagram where she was wearing a strapless shirt and she was playing guitar. It looked like she was wearing nothing. I don't got nothing to say about you, but you want to go spreading stuff about me to other people? Yeah. Like, that was very hurtful. Like, what really does that do? You know, like being like, oh, this girl's being immodest, or, you know, and even if you're not the one spreading that, when someone's saying that to you, you're not saying anything to stick up for that person, you're part of the problem. You are. So why don't you correct people who are gossiping to you? And, like, here's another thing that makes me mad. I'm kind of ranting right now because I'm pissed. But, like, we need to talk about these things. And so there was a time where I was hanging out with two friends from who I grew up with in the church, and one of the girls, and this was like only like 2 years ago, one of the girls were like, did you guys know that blah 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 is no longer a virgin? I said, okay, and why does that...
Who the fuck cares?
Why does that matter to me? Like, I don't care. Yeah. And I remember I just didn't feel comfortable with I feel like the way they bonded was through gossip, and I did not feel comfortable when I told them. I was like, hey, can we like just not gossip? Especially around me. I don't like that. I don't find it to be fruitful. I know I'm not missing out on anything. It actually honestly drains my energy when people are gossiping, so I actually feel liberated from that. I am actually so glad and proud that like I was able to stand up for that girl who I didn't even know, that girl she was talking about. And here's the thing, if they can talk shit about other people to you, they talk shit about you to other people.
Yes, they do.
So yeah, and recently I cut that friend off because I'm just like, her energy is very negative, and I don't want that or need that. And I think for a long time I was like, let me just continue allowing her to be in my life, but no, I just can't.
Yeah, and I want to add to that about like that gossiping thing. Like I didn't think about this until you mentioned what you were talking about, but several years ago I had a miscarriage, and I had confided in a few close friends, and I didn't tell anybody else. And word started spreading. And when you only tell a select few of something like so dear to you, right?
Yeah.
You know where the news is coming from. So it was very easy for me to find where it was coming from, and a random friend who I hadn't talked to in years took me out to lunch to talk to me and to catch up, but it was like baiting me into opening up about the things I've been through that are hurtful, right? And she ended up talking to me about that. And so one thing about me is I ain't scared to tell anybody off. So I said, where did you get that information from, and why are you coming to me with that? Is this from a place of love, or were you guys gossiping and you just want more information from me? Because what's one thing I always say, people don't get snapped on enough. People don't get told off enough.
And I agree.
I think once someone finally hears the truth about themselves, like, why are you talking about me? Why are you not talking to me? If you cared, why did you not send your condolences? Why was your first question was, did this happen? Why was it not, let me love you, let me do this to you, how can I be here for you? It was none of that. And on the contrary, I had another friend who grew up in the same church as us, and she came to me about the same miscarriage question. And when I told her, like, why are you guys talking about me? Like, where is this coming from? What do you want from this? She was apologetic. And that showed me, like, the difference of someone who is honestly just fucking nosy and someone who genuinely cares and realize where she was wrong. And so when you look at the heart of someone and their character, you really see who they are at their very core.
You can tell when someone's being genuine.
If they're talking about people to you, especially people they're close to, they're talking about you to other people who they're not close to. It doesn't matter. It becomes a never-ending cycle of just talking shit, and that's not healthy for anyone, church or not. One thing that I am continuously, like, annoyed about is just pray about it. Just pray about it. I am so fucking done with praying about it. Like, I had an abusive ex-boyfriend, and when I was, like, seeking help in the church, it was just pray about it. Just pray about it. Like, I am asking you for help. Like, I'm begging for help. And it was just pray about it. At some point, faith without action is dead, right? We're just gonna just pray about it. Like, there's a homeless man outside. You're just gonna pray about it. There's nothing you can do. I thought it was whatever you did for those, you did for Jesus. But apparently, people don't actually believe what they preach. So that's my issue. I feel deeply traumatized about that, because it goes to say that, like, you could just say things, like, just pray about it. There's no action involved. Nothing is happening. And so it seems invalidating. It's very frustrating to our experience as a human being.
And I'm so sorry that they didn't, like, come to you in love, especially when you were vulnerable and you wanted and needed help. Literally, your life was in danger, and they didn't care. And they had the power to do something, and they did not do anything. And that was not okay. So we're calling that out. Like, that's not okay. And so if you have experienced something similar to that too, like, I'm so sorry. Especially if no one has ever said sorry. Like, that is so painful. And it makes me so mad for you and many people who have experienced something similar. Because, like, for example, I was talking to Mom the other day, and I was asking her a lot of questions about, what she went through, how was she feeling when she was experiencing abuse from her former husband. And she said that, she did confide in people from the church, and they would just say, like, 오신대 도와주, which means, like, be patient and pray. Okay? And, like, I get it. Pray. Okay. But that's not all you should be doing. Like, there's so much more. And especially when you're in a vulnerable, place, like, especially with leaders in the church.
Yeah.
Who is or was their mentor, your ex-boyfriend's mentor at the time, who was abusing you. He should have done something, and he didn't.
At some point, I want to see the church do what they say that they believe. I feel like at some point there should have been some sort of interception, like physically doing something. Mm-hmm. But I feel like not everyone has that same type of passion as us. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I feel like they're chicken shit and like they're so scared. It's so much about saving face. It is insane. They want to be so appropriate that they don't even care about being right.
That's sad.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. But when we were talking about that, it made me kind of chuckle, but like also annoyed at the same time. Remember when we went to church with Mom for Mother's Day, and there was a man who had like a seizure or something at the church?
He was having like a medical like emergency type of deal.
Yes. And the pastor was just like, okay, yeah, take him out of here. I'm going to...
All right, everyone look back up here.
Yes. And it's just like...
I was like...
What the
in
hell?
Disbelief. Like, no, everyone look back up here. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, that was some bullshit if I ever seen it.
Yeah.
And at that point, we hadn't stepped foot in that church in years. Mm-hmm. And it solidified how I felt. Like, I'm never coming back here. We literally have not gone back since. Christ does not reside here. Yeah. Like, this is a joke. Mm-hmm. And you gotta call shit out for what it is. Like, it's embarrassing. It honestly, it is a misrepresentation of Jesus Christ, to say the least. Mm-hmm. I think that's why a lot of non-believers don't respect the Christian faith, is because they have yet to see Christians act like Christians. From Sunday 9 till 12, that's the only time you act like a Christian. Why does it matter?
Oh,
sorry, sorry, because it's an act. I work more than you guys pretend to be a Christian. Mm-hmm. It's a joke. You're a part-time believer.
It makes me sad, and I know that not everyone's like that, of course, but when you really see it for yourself, because like I stopped going to church in like high school, but then I started going again in college, and even throughout a little bit to my young adulthood. And I also noticed that too. It would be like a switch where it's like, okay, let's talk about Jesus and the Bible, and then right after that, once it was done, nothing at all. Like everything was so shallow, and I didn't like that. Where it wasn't like a true lifestyle. It was more just like a switch, like, okay, I'm gonna be Christian-y right now while we study the word, but then after that I'm like a completely different person. And I was like, I don't know if I want anything to do with that.
If the only people who know you're a believer are the people that you sit in the pews with from Sunday, then what does it matter? I feel like it matters most of the people who don't know who you are, what you identify as on a faith perspective. If they can tell like something's different about you, that's what should matter to you. That should be more indicative of who you are than what you claim to be.
I want to touch on the whole church was worse than high school for me. Yeah, high school was not bad for me at all. I enjoyed high school. Church was a thing where it was so unhealthy for me. I really need to take a break. I remember meeting up with a friend. She was like, we were talking about why I didn't go to church no more in high school, because we used to go all the time. When we were in the youth, like we went a lot every Wednesday, sometimes Friday, sometimes even Tuesdays during practice, and then we went Sundays, and it was because it just wasn't really a safe space. Like hearing people talk about you all the time, like that was more unhealthy than healthy. So why would I continue to go? And then even when I did go, and like throughout college, it was also like high school, and I did not like it. It felt like, oh, we wear pink on Wednesdays. You're not wearing pink. You can't sit with us. Like I remember one time, like we would have like lunches after church, and I ate alone, and I was just like,
oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it's just like, why is it like this? And I feel like you have to be of a certain class, like, and you have to be like a certain Asian ethnicity and have a certain personality and dress a certain way in order to be welcomed. And I did not like that. And I can't hide it either. And I'm just like, ew.
Okay, and if you don't know my sister, she's like the nicest, sweetest, most welcoming person. And so like it really breaks my heart that like that's what you went through, because I know that if there was someone at church who sat alone, you would go sit with that person.
Yes.
So to be on the other end where it's like, oh, where's the love? Like, yeah, it's very sad.
But I think what I learned from that was like I need to reach out to people who are outcasted. I feel like God really put that on my heart. So even though I experienced that when there were newcomers, especially people who didn't believe or know Jesus, it was even more special to me to be that person to welcome them. And I'm sad that the people who were leaders of that church like didn't take that initiative to be a loving, welcoming person to that to them. But I think, it allowed me to make new friends because I wouldn't want to surround myself with people like that anyway. They were like mean girls. Who the hell has mean girls at church? Like, it's not supposed to be like that. It should be a place where everyone is welcomed, everyone is loved. Yeah. And I remember there'd be times where I would say hi to them and they wouldn't even say hi back. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I see how it is. Like, why? Yeah. Why are you like that? I just don't understand. And it's so weird. I don't think people would believe me because they were like so cool. Like cool. Because they had a lot of friends at church. And some of their friends are my friends. And so I kind of stay silent about these things because I just feel like they wouldn't believe me. Because how they portray themselves to other people is different than how they portray themselves to me.
I think you make a really good point. Like, I love that you compared it to high school because everyone understands the concept of high school, right? Yeah. There's, like, different clubs.
Especially groups, extreme stuff, like in movies.
Yes. No, seriously, it is like that. Church is just like that. Like, it's just its own different kind of high school. There are cliques and oh my gosh. And I think you make a really good point about how, like, it wasn't just a church that we grew up with. It wasn't just our home church. It's your church that you went to in college. So it's not like it's just a church we went to. This is like a universal experience of people who go to church and they have these experiences.
Something that is also sometimes still heavy on my heart, it's the trauma I experienced from dating a pastor. Oh. And yeah, it's a lot because I'm like, I can't talk about my relationship without talking about the church as well. I feel like people felt really comfortable to talk lowly about me to him because they had put him on a pedestal. Like, I don't know why. He could do no wrong because he's going to school to be a pastor or because he is a pastor. I feel like people just automatically thought, because, soul is so outwardly sinful, you're way too good for her. Like, I'm sure if y'all broke up, she was the issue. It was always just, it was because of her. Not because of you. And it's just like, that broke my heart. And after a while, I was just like, you know what? I don't fucking care anymore. People can believe what they want to. Yeah. I don't need to explain myself because God knows. So if God knows already, because he does, why do I care? Yeah. So that actually freed me. And if any of you are like can relate to this, like, please, like, I'm sending you hugs, like, know that you're not alone. And that was hard for me to deal with because I didn't really know anyone who could relate, like, dating someone. And, like, there was just so much humiliation because people won't believe you because you're not a pastor.
Because of his role.
You don't have a role. Like, I didn't have a role. And people were already talking about how I was so immodest already. Like, people would not believe me. Yeah. Yeah, it was sad for me. And I remember, like, his dad would, like, say I'm a used water bottle and that he should find someone who's not opened, like, not an open water bottle anymore. And I was like, what do you know about me that I don't know? Because I don't know where you're getting this information that I'm an open water bottle and used water bottle that someone drank from already, That stuff, I was like, why is that okay? And what upset me was that my ex at that time, like, he didn't even stand up for me. He just listened. And what hurt me too was, like, he had friends from the church who had also been my friends. And she started acting weird. And she switched up once she found out that he and I got together. Maybe she liked him. I don't know. I don't care. But it's just like, why are you not a girl's girl right now? Like, why would you start acting weird to me just because he and I started dating? And she told him, I'm disappointed in you.
Wait, you didn't know that pastors are perfect? When you got with him, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
See, like, that's the part you didn't know. Yeah. And you should have known that. Like, they don't sin.
It pisses me off.
Yeah, it's infuriating. If you're watching this, you know how I feel about you, and I have screenshots still.
You do?
So don't even try to deny nothing. Like,
even I lost a lot of things, but I have some. But
fuck dude. Like, honestly, I'm disappointed in so many areas, but like how he abused his role to do certain things, right? Like just and okay, another thing, allowing people to talk about your lady that you somehow want to marry, that's really low. And then going back and telling you like it's normal and it's casual.
Yeah. I think what hurt me so much too was like him taking advantage of his role and using that against me. Like, for example, I had found out that he was stalking multiple women and young girls, and I addressed it to him.
Not something that you can see on the outwardly level.
Yep. Okay. And I addressed it to him, and he said, well, first of all, he made some stupid excuses like, well, you know, guys don't really have Instagram.
Girl.
And then he said he was doing that for ministry, to get to know his audience. Be for real. Be fucking for real.
For real, sir.
You already got caught. Why would you continue lying and digging yourself a bigger hole? A deeper hole. Like, that, honestly, it pissed me off because it's just like, okay, I understand you're unloyal, unfaithful, whatever. But, like, I caught you already. Why would you continue to lie? And then the thing is, like, I was more sad about, I thought of God. And I was like, God, like, does this make you sad too? Because, like, how dare he abuse and use that role as a reason to be doing what he's doing? Yeah. And it makes me sad because I know he's dating someone else now. And she's younger. And I have a feeling, you know, not everyone who's younger is more naive. But I feel like he might take advantage of that, of the age difference like he did with me. But I hope he's changed. And this isn't to, like, put his name down or, you know, but it's just like, come on, don't do that.
Yeah, it's to whom much is given, much is expected, and that's why there's this infuriation. It's because we just expected more from a pastor, someone in the church. Not to say that we expect them to be perfect, but we do expect more, as we should. We should expect more from leaders in any regard, whether it's the church or the school, right? We should hold them to a higher standard. But I feel like the church has a hard time holding someone to a higher standard without holding them on a pedestal. That's an issue. If you respect someone, you should expect more from them. Oh, yeah. You should hold them accountable. That's how you have great leaders, are the leaders who are willing to learn from the people that they are supposed to be serving. And I don't feel like he did that there. And if anything, he abused you, like, your youth. You were several years younger than him. And I know he's made comments about how he liked you in your younger days because because you weren't, like, standing up against him. Oh, also another thing. He didn't like that you and I were close. How do you feel about that?
Girl, that pissed me off. So he used to get mad that I would say one is my better third, that he's my other third. And he would be like, no, I want to be your better half. Like, why would she be involved? Blah, blah, blah. You know that when we get married one day, she's not going to always be in the picture, right? And I was just like, why are you intimidated by the fact that my sister and I are close? I feel like if someone loves me, they would love that we're close and that she advocates for me and she wants the best for me.
Yeah.
Like, how dare he?
It's like he didn't want that. He didn't want someone who wanted you to have better.
Because you saw through his bullshit and I couldn't at the time. I just didn't.
And I saw sisters be knowing. Yeah. I'm not saying that, like, we know everything or that we know what's best for you, but sometimes we really just know.
Yeah. And not just you. We have a friend, and she told me that her brother actually told her that he could see right through my ex as well. And I told my ex too. I'll tell you later. Oh. And I told my ex, I was like, hey, you know that this guy from this church, he was a leader. He was a church leader.
Really?
I was like, you know that this guy also, like, sees right through you? This is when I already didn't respect him anymore, so I would tell him everything. Like, by the way, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I want someone who I respect, and I just no longer respected him. I remember, like, when we were nearing the end of our relationship, well, actually, when we had broken up and he kept on trying to get back with me, I told him, I don't respect you, especially as a pastor. As a human being, yes, I will still respect you as a human being. But, yeah,
I think not more. Everyone put him on a pedestal. His parents put him on a pedestal. And I think people have made really, like, painful comments regarding you being a potential pastor's wife. Yeah. So it, like, put a lot of pressure on you,
It was too much. I was 14. I was maybe 13 or 14 when he and I started talking. I remember my mom was already making comments like, if you're going to be like that, you're not going to be a good Nancy Fu, which is a pastor's wife. I'm like, literally, I'm a preteen. I'm like a little teenager right now. And so that made me think, all right, I need to be really hospitable. I really need to learn how to cook and to be welcoming, and I need to be perfect because they expect me to be.
You were a little girl, and
I was a little girl.
I wish I was a little bit older at that time to be like, girl, what is this old ass dude talking to you for?
No, you were. Remember?
Okay, see, so I was.
But you were supported too, because that was before he messed everything up.
That was before I realized he was full of bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know why. For several years I didn't see it, but now I do.
Oh, okay, real quick. You thought he was so cute.
Ew.
Can we just make it clear that, do you still feel that way?
No.
Oh, good. That's when you know your girl's over a guy.
Because cuteness to me isn't just physical.
Period.
It's like,
that's what we're talking about.
It's their heart. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, I looked beyond his physical.
Okay, I'm laughing because one time she was like, I don't love him for the physical. I was like, oh, I know.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Knows. I wish, but when you're in it, you don't see how funky things are.
Yeah, and when an ugly dude get a hot girl, he think he could just have anybody.
He don't know how to act.
He did not know how to act. And I think I also placed him on a pedestal, so he just thought he was the shit. So, yeah, not doing that no more.
He was only indeed full of it.
Yeah.
Ew.
Anything else you want to add about church trauma?
I think people listening to this, like, they can take it however they want. I know a lot of people are probably just thinking, like, these are just some mad girls. Okay, go ahead. Take it however you want.
And also, it's okay if we're mad.
Yeah, I know, period.
I want to add. I know I just asked a question, but before I forget, I feel like y'all church people out there, and I'm not saying all of you, because I like some of you. But I don't like it when y'all be mad that we're coming out and talking about what we experienced. Why aren't you upset that we experienced these things, that some of y'all did this to us?
Yeah.
Like, that pisses me off. I feel like there are some people, especially people who I thought were friends, like, they're upset that we're speaking up about these things.
They want us to suffer politely.
Yes. And that's not okay.
That's bullshit.
That is bullshit.
Yeah. That's not okay.
It's not okay.
I do love the fact that you preface that it is okay to be mad.
It's okay to be mad.
We have been upset about this for years. And we've talked about it. I think we did a lot of digging in how we feel about it. Mm-hmm. And I feel good in it. Mm-hmm. You can take this however you want, however you choose to view it. That's on you. That's your prerogative. But where our heart is, and I'll speak for me, is I do want people to see the pain that they inflict on other people, and this is just our response of the pain that we've experienced. Mm-hmm. So if you feel some type of way, this is just the result of what we've gone through. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people who have gone through things similar, worse, not as bad, whatever, and they just don't say anything. So all you're seeing is the expression of people who have gone through it and who are not shutting the fuck up about it anymore.
Yeah.
So
if you're mad that we're sharing these things and that we're mad about it, then you really need to dig deeper. And I'll be praying for you, and you need to be patient, and you need to pray about that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just be patient.
Yeah, just be patient and pray about it. And then maybe we'll just stop talking about it, you know?
Just pray about it.
Yeah, pray about it. I'll pray about it too, and I'll be patient too.
Oh my gosh. But great topic.
Okay, but on a serious note, my heart goes out to those of you who can relate to what we've experienced, the pain that we've experienced in the church. And I'm so sorry, and we're here for you, and we're glad that you're here. Please know that you're not alone, and we're here. We're healing together, you know. And sometimes we gotta laugh through it. We gotta joke about it. We gotta be mad about it. I feel like we don't be mad enough. And especially coming from me, I feel like a lot of people think, like, a lot of people are blown away. Wow, so mad. Because they're not used to me being mad. And I'm realizing maybe I need to be upset more. I need to be more mad about what I've experienced.
Oh, real quick, pause.
Yeah.
I think it's because we grew up hearing that anger is bad.
Yeah.
Anger is sin.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Anger is sin. This is a trauma response. And so go off, girl. I'm here for you. Anger is a human emotion. It is a human expression. It is a result of the things that you've been through. So, girl, be mad.
Yeah. I'm going to be mad. I'm sure y'all can tell. You can tell because I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm mad, you can see it on my face.
You're mad because you've experienced an injustice. And I do want people to know, like, you can be mad and you can crack jokes about it.
Yes.
You can cry about it and you can be happy that you're thriving from it. Yeah. We're not confined to one emotion, you guys. Yeah. We can be mad about the things that people in the church have done to us and still not hate God.
Yeah.
And if you hate God
God,
because of the things that you've been through, I understand. But it ain't gotta be that. You are not restricted to one thing at a time.
Yes, and just piggybacking off of that.
Yeah.
I don't be going to church no more. And when I talk about church hurt, I'm not saying the churches I went to overall are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, these are what I experienced in that church, and that's the hurt I have from it. And then I like that you said the thing about, like, it's okay, I understand if you are upset at God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I haven't gone to church, but I feel closer to God than I have in the past.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to add, like, for a long time I thought God was mad at me.
Oh my gosh,
I thought God was mad at me because.
Can we talk about that?
Yes, I want to talk about that because I'm very passionate about this. Like, I just had, like, the worst day of my whole entire fucking life. Like, May 23rd, 2022, you will never leave my mind. Like, that day forever changed my life. And I had, like, a mental breakdown, and Mom called me, and she's like, why were you cussing? Why were you so mad? And I lost it. I was crying on the phone with Mom, and she was like, God doesn't like this, and God this, and God that. And I'm just like, I'm so sick of everyone telling me how to feel. When God told me that God loves me, and God is more gracious and forgiving and understanding than we can ever imagine. So if you think God's mad at you, God's not mad at you. God's not mad at you. God loves you. If anything, God understands what you've been through and why you have this anger and this pain. So I want to take this time to validate your feelings, whatever it is. Like, whether you're happy that you walked away from the church, or whether you're sad and you miss your friends, or you miss the community that you used to have in church, it's all understandable. Your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry that people have made you feel like they're not. You are valid. Your feelings, you matter, whatever feeling it is. I want to hear your thoughts on that,
I love
too.
that you added that. The church that we grew up in, they really taught us to limit God. Like, it was more like, he is a God of wrath, which he is. I get that. And you should fear him. But where was the love? So that made me wonder, like, he's mad at me all the time. And so I just thought, oh my gosh, like, God's mad at me, or God's disappointed in me. And then I experienced God for myself. Taste and see that he is good. And he is good.
Yeah.
Because when I experienced my God, I realized, whoa, he is a open, loving, forgiving God. Yeah. He wasn't like, you need to do this and you need to do that, like, just, wow, like, you're going to go to hell. He was like, tell me about it. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you experienced that. And it's okay. I'm going to give you the rest that you need. Yeah. And it wasn't just wrath. Of course, he corrects us and he convicts us and reveals things to us. But he also allows us to rest. He gives us peace. He is our comforter. And so don't limit God. And I know that, like, what we were taught in the church, I feel like it was very limiting. Like, God is only this and that's it. But when I was like, strip me of all that, I want to know you, God. Period. That's when I was able to find
God for yourself.
Him. Yes.
Experience him for yourself. Because there are people who have never experienced us, and they've only heard of us through other people, and they have this, oh my gosh, these girls are like this. Like, it's always very funny hearing what people say about us, because I'm like, that's so funny. Like,
yes, but experience us for yourself.
When you experience us, then you can make up your own opinion. But when I experienced God for myself, I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, you exceed all of my expectations. How do y'all think we're supposed to understand someone who is omnipotent, omnipresent, the author of time, everything? Y'all think we really grasp that in our human mind? There's no way. So I'm very happy we're having this conversation. I think it's healing for me to talk about.
Same. I feel like a burden has been lifted.
Oh, my chains have been broken too. Yeah, I feel so good. And so, like, people might see our anger, but I also want people to know that there's freedom in expressing how you feel.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this second conversation of church trauma. Obviously, we have a lot more to come, but we thank you for joining us, and we hope that you got something from this. Leave your thoughts below. We look forward to seeing you next time.